All right, you are good to go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 13th, 2020 meeting of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission. In accordance with Mass General Law, this meeting is done via Zoom, but I need to ask if anybody in the viewing audience is recording this meeting, and if so, please raise your hand. Good to go, Ryan?
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is approval of our April 22nd, 2020 minutes. I looked at those and I was fine with them. I had no corrections or anything.
They look good
I
to
don't
me.
need. I'm good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2020 minutes.
So moved.
Seconded.
We need to do a roll call vote. Craig Jernstrom, yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Carnati, yes.
Jeff Bosworth, yes.
Alrighty. I would like to, before we move too much farther, Mark Stinson, if you're out in the audience and wish to join in, please raise your hand. And Ryan Quimby will let you into the meeting, but thank you for attending and hope to see your face in a few minutes. Item number 1 is the old business, the enforcement order, original one for 15 Yorkshire Place. This was the one we went out there the first time. What has happened since we did get the filing from Pete Levesque for the restoration plan. So this one is kind of current. Does any members have any comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the enforcement order number 2. This was the second order that while the first one was, we noticed had continued and the permanent limit of work markers had been removed by the homeowner's contractor. Comments from anyone?
Are we going to, on the first or the second or both, are we going to do fines on this particular thing this evening?
Well, I'll chime in. The first one is something that we've dealt with before and not fined people, but the second one, where the work continued after being issued an enforcement order and the homeowner actually had the permanent limit of work markers removed, my personal would be in favor of.
Like, through the chair. As I said before, I'm not in favor of issuing fines yet. And I'd personally like to hear from the homeowner before we make any decisions. And I also think that while we do have a quorum, we have 4 members, which is an even amount. In case of a tie, that presents other issues. But anyway, I just want to hear from the homeowner. I want to hear his version of it. I've heard your guys.
Did you read the letter that came out in emails? He sent a 2-3 page letter in.
Yep.
Francis?
Sorry. Yes, I read the letter and I think, but I'm also very concerned about the fact that we had a repeat visit and was a problem on the second visit as well as the first visit. So I feel as if even if we set a fine at a low amount, but I do feel that because of the disrespect of the commissioners and the continuation of the work, I stopped by myself, and that was after the warning. and he still hadn't started cleaning up. But I know now that he has, you know, tried to make things better. And I'm new on the commission, so I've never been a part of the commission when a fine was issued. Can we actually issue fines in cases like this? That's my first question.
Mark, comment?
We can't hear him.
Yep. Audio's not on.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's under your bylaw, so, you know, it's totally up to you whether or not you issue fines. My question is, this is an oldie, file number 207, that's from the late 90s, right?
Yes.
Well, but
And the work, was he ever given a certificate of compliance? Do you know? I mean, that's the first thing you always check. If there's an order that's old like that, was it recorded and was a certificate of compliance issued by the commission?
I believe we might have checked in that. Bethany, you could help me out with that, but I believe there actually was one issued for this.
So was he even aware that there had been an order of conditions?
No, he was not.
Okay, so you have to take that into account, but if he continued doing something after you told him to stop, that's something else. You know, he should have come to the commission, did what you wanted the first time without you guys finding out more stuff the second time.
Well, if I may, what transpired, Mark, was there was a complaint called in. I went out to the site prior to noon on the first day and saw what was going on. It told him to cease and desist. Specifically pointed out the limit of work markers and explained to him that he was beyond that in a buffer zone to the wetlands and that he could not proceed. And he said, well, no one told him when he bought the house and whatever. He said, irregardless, you cannot proceed any further. And I thought that was clear to him. And he went over to his workers. I told him, you know, you have to tell him to stop right now. And I left. And then the following morning, the same complainant called again and asked what's going on because he needed things that his are beyond the limit of work that he wanted to clear out. So I told him I would go back, that he was told to stop, and he said, well, he can continue cutting all the rest of that afternoon, and he's cutting again this morning. So I went back with the first enforcement order, along with another commissioner, and I actually had a member of the East Long was a problem, and again explained to him, you know, and then while I was walking the property, I noticed that the limit of work markers were removed. And you could clearly see holes in the ground where they had been. And I said, where are those markers? You removed them. Well, I don't know what happened to them. So that proceeded the second enforcement order. And the individual was, the first day was pretty much arrogant and, well, I don't care. It's my land, and I want to create a larger backyard for my future kids and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but, you know, whether you have knowledge or not, I'm telling you, you can't. And so I just assumed and then the other got there just prior to me arriving and went and told the workers to stop. They had a pickup truck and a chipper down in the wetland, and they had cut not only to his property, they went beyond his property line into someone else's property, into the wetland.
Now, is that company who did the work, is that his company or some other company?
I tried to, there were no markings on the vehicles. I asked the workers, who's in charge of your company? Who's here? Dumb, no English, blah, blah, blah.
If
And
I may,
I asked the homeowner who the tree company was. He wouldn't give me an answer. Later on said, well, they were friends of his from New Britain, Connecticut. Never found out any names or whatever from these people.
if I may, I was there the day after the second order was issued, and the homeowner would not give me the name. I asked for it.
Because I was going to say issue an enforcement order against that company too. They
They're
did
out
the
of-
work, but no license plates you could get, no names on trucks or anything? That sounds like,
I did take a photograph of the license plate on one of the trucks, which was a Connecticut plate.
okay. I don't know. We just tell people, if you have the name of the company that did the work, go after them as well as the homeowner. I mean, it sounds
Right.
like the guy's giving you a hard time. So I understand, Craig, your desire for getting by requiring payment of a fine. I understand totally.
And since this is all, go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry, I wasn't speaking. I think my son walked and it triggered it. But my personal opinion is not everybody's versed in 310 CMR. They're not versed in conservation commissions. They're, not everybody's knowledgeable. And so, yeah, he may have disregarded you guys and incorrectly. But I think he recognizes the error of his ways at this point. He's going to spend money on a wetlands professional. He's going to spend money on restoration. It's probably safe to say that, I don't know, he's probably going to spend between $3,000 and $10,000. And it seems like he's remorseful. For me, I mean, that's enough.
All right, let me ask you then, Tom. So you think he's going to get a consultant? You think he's going to come up with a restoration plan? What evidence is there of that? By meaning, has he informed you of what consultant he's hired?
No, but I would
Yeah,
think that would be the,
If I may,
Yeah.
if I may, the restoration plan has been filed, Mark.
Oh, okay.
It definitely has. It's been filed by Pete Levesque. And, there is a large amount of different plantings in there because some of the removal actually occurred in the wetland.
Right, that's the bad
In
one.
addition to the buffer zone.
Okay, so I mean, if he's proceeding along, you might have to just suck it up, the disrespect, but the important thing is the restoration, not punitive, but restoring the resource area is what your enforcement order requires. So if you get that in the required timeline, I don't know if you always have the fine in your back pocket if you want to go with it. Again, but if you're getting the restoration, you're getting compliance now, and just keep that in your ammo box, just in case.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any comments, or does anybody care to make a motion on enforcement order number 2 for 15 Yorkshire Place?
Greg, I believe the homeowner is present if you'd like to hear from him.
Sure.
You also have Pete Levesque in the audience if you'd like to hear from him as well.
Sure.
All right, Pete and Matt, hold on one second.
Hey, can you guys see me?
Yeah, you're
Yep.
good.
Great. So thanks for allowing me to join in the meeting and talk to you guys. I know there's been obviously a lot of miscommunication, so I was hoping to clear a couple things up. Firstly, everything that has been requested of me has been complete. I hired Pete Levesque, who's on the call now as well, and Mike Smith. They both put together the restoration plan that you should have, Craig, and really should have been dropped off for everybody to see. Just so we have the timeline correct. And again, Jeff, I don't mean it quite not. We've never heard of the Conservation Commission. This is my first home. Fiance, we're set to get married later this year. I had no idea about anything to a wetland, a buffer zone, or anything like that. In fact, I've since contacted my clerk. There's been the chain of deeds where my neighbors have in their deeds restrictions in a buffer zone clearly delineated in a covenant that is right in their deed. I had it. I went back to the previous New Yorkshire that I bought the house from. It was never in his deed. It wasn't even in their civic deed from the original developer, Dan Rulier, that sold it to Van Ness all the way back in '97. So I don't know what happened in this chain of command with the deeds, but it was never conveyed to me that this was a buffer. So I recognize now that I disrespected you by not listening the first time you came out to mention it. But when I received that very first order, next over with the I completely resisted everything. You had told me that day to put the wetland markers back in. I had to find them because I found them and put them in, and then 2 days later, I was given the second enforcement order from a mailman or somebody who handed it to me in my driveway. So even before I received the second enforcement order dictating to put those wetland markers back in, they were so from trying to understand that I did not mean any disrespect. Once I understood who the Conservation Commission was, and I had the enforcement order, I did all the steps that were necessary immediately. And I even have text messages from Craig thanking me for cleaning up the wood chips that were in the back of the yard, the half sections of the logs. It was a considerable amount of work, especially to do by hand, but I did it immediately. So I'm not quite sure what the point of a fine would be at this point in time when less steps to have this resolved.
I will confirm that, and I, Matt, that yes, after I was there, relatively quickly, the wood chips and the cut pieces of the rounds were taken care of, and Matt did correct the situation promptly. Pete, would you like to comment?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I got there the first time was at the end of March, beginning of April, and Mike Smith had alerted it to me. And I met with Matt, and I can kind of understand where he's coming from. He's from Connecticut. This is his first home in Massachusetts. Never heard of the Wetland Protection Act, and was totally unaware of it. And after I spent some time with him and explained to him the Wetland Protection Act, the resource areas, where the resource area zone, etc., he understood and had a good understanding of what was going on. So he wanted me to help him out, and at that point, I wasn't even contracted with him. And I recommended immediately that he check with Craig and see if he could remove the wood chips and the cut log links and get them out of there to try to advance the restoration process. I think he met with Craig the following day, I'm not sure, and Craig had the same idea going, so we were on the same page. So then I went back over a second time and instructed him exactly how to remove the wood chips, how I wanted it down, not so it was digging into the original grade, but you can leave a sprinkle of chips in there. Well, our goal was to try to get the existing natural vegetation to pop through to emerge. So, any heavy equipment at all, and he didn't. I went back there again after he did it. He did it immediately, by the way. And I went back there. He did a really good job. I was really impressed. Most people don't do that good of a job. And over the next week or so, we saw cinnamon fern, Canada May, skunk cabbage. I mean, all kinds of stuff popping up, both in the wetland and the buffer zone. So I think that was to our advantage as far as advancing the restoration plan. And since that time, I mean, he's been totally cooperative. I think he actually is kind of engaging the restoration plan and the type of plants that I'm putting in there, because it's very diverse. I think it's going to be beautiful when he's done. He made a comment the other day. He said, I didn't realize how pretty the wetlands are. So, since the point when I met him, he's been very cooperative up to this date. Before that, I wasn't involved. I don't know. But I also agree with Tom that as far as East Long Meadow finding folks, I don't believe it's ever been done before. Our town residents are usually pretty responsive, you know, and, you know, I think after he learned what was going on, he became very responsive. And, you know, I don't see where a fine would do us any good. I think he'd be better off putting the money into plantings and restoration and move forward. But that's my take on it.
Thank you very much, Pete. And you know, if we try and look for the silver lining in the cloud here, one of the benefits that is going to come about after restoration done, the invasive species actually.
Yeah, I didn't believe this place. The buffer zone and the wetland, both the undisturbed ones on either side, were loaded with bittersweet. I got a picture in the report. So like 3-4 inches in diameter, wrapped around trees, bending red maples over. I mean, multiflora rose was most of the shrub layer, and honeysuckle, burning bush, barberry. I mean, it was really nasty in there.
Okay.
And in my report, I think I estimated that I bet 25% of what he actually cut and removed were all invasives. But
So did you, Matt, did anybody explain the permitting process? So if you want to do more invasive species removal, you will have to file with the Conservation Commission?
Okay, yeah, so what is that? Because I do anticipate that they'll probably, so what to do about that?
File at least a request for determination, potentially a notice of intent, depending on if you're staying in the buffer or you want to do it in the wetlands. If you manually cut in the wetlands, potentially it could be an RDA. You want to use herbicides, it's got to be a notice of intent.
Okay.
So you can talk about that with Pete later on.
Okay.
Mark, I speak to that. In my restoration plan, I put in as part of it that he should maintain the invasives in the buffer zone.
No, because that's a thing. It's not enforcement. It doesn't belong under enforcement. It's got to be permitting. It's got to be either an RDA or notice of intent if he wants to go back in there.
Yeah, even in the buffer zone?
Yeah, I mean, unless it's the lawn area, the landscaped area. But if he wants to do it in the wetland, it's got to be a no intent.
It makes a lot of sense when it's part of a restoration area and get it to proceed. So he'd have to file an additional filing to maintain the restoration area.
Well, if it's supposed to be natural vegetation, then yes. If it's the lawn, then I don't care. But if it's supposed to be naturally, beyond the wetland side of the limit of work line, that's supposed to be undisturbed, right?
Right.
So you want to do something in there.
Side. But the buffer zone area?
The buffer zone inside the wetland side of the limit of work line. Limit of work line means nothing takes place, right? So if you want to do some, right?
Yeah,
the limit of work line is the limit of work line.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to get in there in the future to do invasive species removal, whatever, he's got to file. That's permitting, not enforcement.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is, so Craig had initially told me that when I restore this wetland buffer, it's my responsibility to make sure that the trees and the shrubs take. If this bittersweet or any of these other invasive species look as though they're cutting the ability for these new plants to be able to flourish, every single time you want me to file a notice?
No,
for you guys to go in?
if you do a determination, it's good for 3 years. If you do a notice of intent, it can be continued every 3 years for as long as you want to do it. But it's permitting. So if you had not gone in there and done the work and you wanted to go in and remove the invasive species, you would have had to file.
Okay. I'm just
So
going to ask you guys from now on going forward before I do anything.
Well, the restoration is being handled under enforcement. Future activities to do to be a permissible issue, not enforcement issue.
Okay. I guess at this, I'll entertain a motion, and we can bring it back for discussion. But right now, at this time, I will entertain a motion just to move forward with the enforcement orders and the restoration plans without the issuing of fines.
So moved.
Seconded.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Craig Jernstrom, yes.
Francis
O'Brien.
Fornati, yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Jeff Bosworth, yes.
Good luck, Matt.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
So-
Thank you for explaining everything.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to me. Just so I know, once this restoration plan is put together, I know I have to let you guys know before I plant everything. What's the process? Do you guys swing by and say, everything looks good, you're A-okay, the enforcement order has been closed? What's the process?
Yes. Yeah, we'll come by and inspect it, and we actually need to look at it for sure that the plantings take,
Okay.
and the trees are growing, and then you just move forward from there.
Okay, sounds good. And then do I receive just like a letter in the mail or some kind of notification from you guys that everything is good and I'm in the clear?
Yes, you will.
Okay. All right.
All righty.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Keith.
Thank you. Nice seeing you all.
See you, Pete.
Safe.
Next item is another enforcement order for Hidden Ponds for lots 19 and 20. This is the one that there was a communication from Al Joyce out there today with his comments from where he said he talked to various environmental consultants. Did everybody get a chance to review that?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't, but I have it right here with me, so.
Yeah. Essentially, the gist of that was, I was saying it couldn't be stopped, and he spoke with 4 environmental engineers, erosion control specialists, and that sort of thing. And I spoke with Mark about it today after an email, and which prompted his reply that he sent out with this different type of erosion control that could be a dramatic improvement over what is there existing right now. Mark, could you comment on that?
Yeah, so I've had this issue before on various sites where you have very fine, what's called fines, this really tiny pieces of soil. And, Al Joyce is right. Silt fence, hay bales, nothing will stop the really fine material. You've got to do something else. So if everybody has had a chance to read my email, I gave you photos, I gave you specific examples of what can be done, that have worked in other locations where you've had this problem. Jeff sent me some pictures. I saw them. I'm not surprised looking at the photos that knowing the soil out there that the situation is the way it is. So what I told Jeff, I said, in terms of cleaning up, for what got in the water, I said, it all depends on how much. Eventually it'll all go away. If you have a tiny amount, it's best just to leave it because you're going to cause more disturbance. So it depends on how much got in the water. But in order to prevent things getting in the water, there are other actions that can be taken. And it's spelled right out there in the email.
Yes, and thank you for sending that. And yeah, I was the one, I do have a picture where you can actually see in the water, and there is a layer of red clay that you can definitely see close to the shoreline. And you know, we need to keep in mind this is a quarry. In some spots, 15 feet offshore, it's 100 feet deep. You know, so it would be very difficult to even do a cleanup. And you know, and we've seen it happen 3-4 times actually. We've had erosion run into the quarry there. However, it's not possible for us to get there every single time it's raining. It's a pretty safe assumption that it has happened on additional occasions. And this order was issued, Mark, and we said you need to hire an environmental consultant, and this would, because this was the 4th occurrence. And what we had done at the previous one, where we have 2 other enforcement orders, we informed Mr. Joyce that he probably should talk to somebody and not just take the commission's recommendations on what we want. And actually, there was just a round 8-inch diameter wattle that were old, and we had some rain, and that's what caused the first 2 major occurrences there. And we said, we can make recommendations to you, but in the end, you're responsible. Even if you do what we said, you need to do what you have to do to keep this from happening again. I mean, and Mr. Joyce has been responsive, but the issues out here have just been numerous and non-stop, you know, since this project started in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agreed with you. I'm sorry, Tom. You know, I asked what the limit of work line was. You only said 25 feet. So when you have poor soils, sometimes you have to make that limit of work line farther away from the wetland line, so the grass or whatever the vegetation can slow it down, act as a filter. When you get it too close, you're going to end up with, and you don't address the issues with all these fines, you're going to have problems.
Tom?
Through the chair. As I said many times, that this unique site and the fact that, you know, mining occurred there for, I don't know, somewhere in the vicinity between 20 and 100 years. So you've got acres, probably approximately 5 acres opened up of overburden and all the dust that accumulated over 100 years. And like Mark said, the particulate matter is just too fine. And when you have, you know, rain events, it's just going to pass through unless you move forward with the measures he's mentioned. I was out there today. It generally looks pretty good. All the erosion control intact. There's a few spots that I made notes of where he could put some more hay bales, but the site's moving forward. The retention pond looks good, and I think once that site settles down and growth comes in, that a lot of that red runoff is going to dissipate. I know it's going to dissipate. I looked at the areas around the drain, the brook, and the particulate matter didn't seem bad to me. I mean, it was just like maybe a light coating of dust at best. It wasn't like heavy siltation. So it's just a matter of fine particulate matter that's really hard to mitigate.
You can make a huge retention basin, but and you know, have the basin filled up with muddy looking water, but it's going to take days for the fines to settle out. You know, so, and you can't build detention basins really big enough to handle, you know, a good sized storm and letting it set. I mean, that's the purpose of a sediment basin, is for the water, for the fines to have time to settle out of the water to the bottom. If it doesn't have the time, then you're going to get this problem unless you address the use of flocculants.
Francis?
Yes, I have a question. When I was a new commissioner and I first visited this site and I was told that there was a 25-foot limit of work line, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I said, why didn't our work area? And my question today is, can that be changed or is it too late? it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, the order is the order.
Okay.
You can require additional erosion and sedimentation controls, but you can't really change the limit of work line.
So that's what we're doing. Thank you. Thank you.
Jeff or Tom?
Yeah, through the chair. As far as yeah, you're right, Francis. The 25 is tight. There's only one spot that I'm aware of. I think it's around lot 19 where you had the red particulate matter flowing into the quarries themselves. That area can be mitigated pretty well. I told Al that he's got to put some more hay bales up there. There's also a drainage outflow. I told him to hay bale that drainage outflow. As far as the rest of that particulate matter we're talking about, that's the adjoining, intermittent stream that runs along the side of that property, that abuts the retention pond, and he's dug 2 wells there on lots 3 and 4 as like collection ponds. And like Mark said, you can only control that so much. You can't dig them deep enough. But they seem to be generally working, and then he's got hay bales as a backup for the outflows. But as far as the 25 foot, it really only comes to play on lot 19, maybe a little bit on, I can't think of the other lot numbers, but it gated pretty good.
I will respectfully disagree. That we're going to put some more hay bales down. There at 19 and 20 where this happened, there was actually 2 places that the sediment was flowing into the quarry, and it has happened in the other lots where we have other enforcement orders, that we had the pictures of those too, and it was just a massive amount of red silt went in there, and there is more that needs to be done. Like coming up is the other one for lot 3. But I didn't get that enforcement order done yet because there's a lot that came out over there the last time we had a heavy rain. And then again, that was creating the Red River in the abutters on Harwich Road in their backyard along the easement. So I'm not the least bit satisfied with the erosion controls there, because as he continues to do more work in different areas, what more problems are going to come up? Yeah, they're not going to come up unless he makes some changes in the erosion control system, which is why we put that in the enforcement order. And I respectfully disagree also that the basin's in good shape. I mean, that basin is full of red clay and it never should have been in there. And it continues to flow, and that basin's in operation. There was supposed to be vegetation in the bottom of the basin before any water started going in there. And granted, that is out of our jurisdiction, but what is in our jurisdiction is the outflow of the wetland buffer zone. And when we were there last Saturday, if you look in that outflow in the sediment trap there was a substantial amount of red clay in there. And we have pictures from before from where red clay is coming out of the outflow of the basin. So, I mean, and that's a whole nother separate issue, but there is quite a bit of issues that I still have with that basin. Moving forward, is Jeff, do you want to comment?
Yeah, when you look over on that lot 3, there's a constant pond of water there. Even though he beefed up the silt fence in that area, and he's built up the dirt so it doesn't run, but I just don't know. It's been almost a lake there for a year. And over the several times that I've been out there, and we've told him numerous times, and he's finally gotten down by lot 11 where it was running in. He put up better erosion control silt fence where he just had the wattles before, which were doing nothing. And what he's put it, and then he's dug trenches in front of that to try to capture the water, which is, to me, that's fine. As long as it's not going into the quarries, that's a good thing. And over on 12 and 14 in that area was the same thing. And he finally put up silt fences, but I don't know how many times we had to go out there before he did it. Well, it was when I did the enforcement order. That's when he did it. But you know, there's other areas, and it's just constantly got to be monitored. And especially over between 19 and 20, it's been constant run of water going down over there until he finally has gotten something there now that's basically stopping it to a great extent. And you know, and as Craig put in his enforcement order, he even cut down saplings and stuff on the other side of the limit of work line towards the quarry, which is it's not gonna help soak up the water. It's just gonna add to more runoff.
Tom?
Excuse me, through the chair. He did not cut trees beyond the limit of work line on 19. If you look, the stakes are still existing as they have been for whatever, a year or two. I would ask Mark, there seems to be like 3 or 4 points on this property where there's outflow discharge. Oh, by the way, those plunge ponds, I think that they've stayed wet because that's the water table there, given the soil condition. I think that's just the water table you're seeing. So given the 2 plunge ponds on lots 3 and 4, the retention basin, the outflow at 19, and maybe a couple other spots. Mark, what would you recommend to mitigate the particulate matter?
I said in the email, I think flock logs should work, but I'm talking about, see, sediment traps are construction period BMPs. The detention basins are for post-construction. So if you have trouble on certain lots, as per the order of conditions, you can require more controls in particular places. So if it's 19 and 20, where you have the sediment run off into the pond, then you can require additional controls, erosion and sedimentation controls on those lots. Again, it's just construction period, because once the site is vegetated and stable, that won't be an issue anymore. It shouldn't be an issue. So it's only during the construction phase. So I specified in the email what's erosion control versus sediment control. I haven't seen any pictures of the site itself, so I don't know how open the site is, how much soil is exposed. So you might have to do something, so if you can prevent sediment from getting hit by the energy of the rain, you'll prevent a lot of the sediment runoff. I don't know the condition of the site. So there's 2 factors to erosion and sedimentation control. One's erosion control and one's sediment control.
If I may, Mark, thank you. The condition of the site is there's acres that has been cleared out with no trees and just spread clay.
Well, so there's no erosion control going on, so you can require that.
Yeah.
You know, just like this photos I sent you, erosion control, blankets, hydroseeding, whatever you feel is appropriate.
Yep. And that's where on this lots 19 and 20 also, there is a discharge which comes off of a turnaround where there's an island in the middle of the turnaround there. And there is a grate there that the water flows in. And however, what's there now, it's just clay. There's no soil there or anything. And so that discharges red water right there, approximately 30 feet away from the quarry.
What's
and
the,
yes, that runs into the erosion controls.
What does the plan of record show for that site? Is there supposed to be a stormwater feature or not? Or is it all supposed? Go ahead.
It's supposed to be planted there. There's supposed to be grass and whatever they're on there, and to keep the clay from coming in there. But that's
Okay,
the sequencing hasn't been correct and how things are done out there.
okay.
Tom?
Through the chair. Can you guys hear me? So anyway, as far as the cul-de-sac, there's, you know, approximately a 40-foot wide circle. There is an erosion blanket, a filtration blanket over the inflow. I told him put hay bales where the runoff comes off the street into that cul-de-sac area. I think if you hay bales it with the blanket over the inflow, that will generally be mitigated. As far as the rest of the property, yeah, it's probably 4 or 5 acres of open overburden because of the site they made a mountain of overburden. So in order to manage the site, he had to make huge cuts. So, but generally, most of the stuff is flowing into those plunge ponds. I'm just sitting here thinking out loud that maybe he might need to make another plunge pond in front of the 2 existing plunge ponds. So you have the retention pond, all right, that's generally doing its job. It's just.
All right, wait a second. What do you mean by a retention pond? Is it a permanent stormwater basin or is it temporary?
Yes, it's permanent.
Okay, so there is no such thing as a retention basin for permanent. It's either a detention basin or an infiltration basin.
It has an outflow, so it's a detention basin. I misspoke. On either side of that, on lots 3 and 4, he has plunge ponds, and they
sediment traps. I'm just trying to get the terminology right. That's all.
Sediment traps. He has those, and they generally seem to be working. It's really just the particulate matter that's going outside of the property. There's really no erosion that's occurring off the property and into the intermittent stream, or generally there's no erosion that's occurring that's going directly into the 2 ponds there. It's all just sediment that's bypassing the system. The only thing you might be able to do is make another plunge pond in front of the 2 existing ones, or sediment trap, and that might mitigate it somewhat, and then use the controls you were mentioning earlier.
Okay, so you have the 2 issues. 1, you have way too much exposed soils, and 2, you have fines that are slipping through all your erosion controls. No flock logs are being used. So you know the solution. Now you just have to get it implemented. That's all. I mean, I think you have some good, I've provided some good guidance there. So now you have to decide how you're going to handle it, how you're going to deal with it. So do you know if Mr. Joyce hired someone who's a certified erosion and sedimentation control specialist?
Yes.
So that person who's a certified erosion control specialist should be able to design remediation activities to address the runoff concerns, right?
If I may, the communication we got from Mr. Joyce today said he spoke to 4 different erosion people, and they said the stopped.
Well,
that's essentially what he put in there.
So, but who did he talk to?
They were not identified, and there was no letter from any of these people. The letter came from Mr. Joyce, which is one of the things I was going to ask. And I believe he might be asking to come into the meeting. So if Al wants to, Ryan, we could let him in. But yes, I mean, that's what I was looking for. Well, where's the letter from one of these erosion control people? Because to the best of my knowledge, I don't know that one has been retained at this point. They've been spoken to, but there's been no documentation from an outside firm yet. I saw Al just popped up.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yep.
We did. I don't know his certification. I didn't get anything in writing from the commission on exactly what they wanted. So I have interviewed several people. It was Bob Stover is the person I'm interested in.
Bob Stover is now the certified erosion and sedimentation control specialist. Is he?
Yeah, I wasn't told what that was never mentioned. I was told to hire.
I'm just telling you he's not one.
Okay,
He doesn't specialize in erosion and sedimentation control.
I
Yeah.
believe it is in the
we
enforcement
never
order.
got an
Al.
enforcement.
Says
You
you
didn't
need to
get
hire
an
an erosion
enforcement order.
control specialist.
We did not get an enforcement order.
Okay, and then we will have Bethany send it out, but we ratified it at the last meeting, but with the virus thing, sometimes these things aren't out, but it was definitely specified in the order.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and
It wasn't specified during the hearing that I listened to.
yes, it was.
Well, I never heard the word certified erosion control specialist.
Well, obviously at this point, Al, it's something that needs to get done. We have to stop these massive amounts of clay from going into the water. And I struggle with 4 people looked at it and said it can't be done. Whereas Mr. Stinson provided a solution that's going to be dramatically better with a different type of erosion controls than continuing to pile up more hay and silt fence, which hasn't been working.
What my letter said was that going through silt fence will not change the color of the water from red to clear. And I've actually tested it. I've ran that stuff through a silt fence and it still comes out colored. That's what my letter said.
Right. Well, I agree with that. Yeah. But that doesn't alleviate the responsibility of keeping massive amounts of clay silt from going into the quarry. There's other methods.
The amount of silt in that colored water is tiny. It takes just a tiny amount of microscopic silt. And it's not even silt that's in the water. It's iron that's getting leached out of the rocks. And the iron can't be removed from the water, and the iron colors it red. And that's what my letter was about.
Well, I respectfully
have a
disagree. Go ahead,
question.
Francis.
Are we asking Al to specify a certified erosion control specialist and consult with him and then present us the plan? Because reading Mark Stinson's proposals, there's very technical ways of fixing the problems, and they're not silt fence, and they're not, they're very technical. And so we would need to hear from a certified specialist before we could go any further, I think. And I'm not sure where we're at with the process.
And I agree with that. That's what was put in the last enforcement order, and we will have Bethany get a copy to Al right away. But yes, that was a part of the order the last
And is
time.
Bethany with us right now? Me?
I mean, if it didn't get sent, Al?
I'm very eager to do whatever I need to do. I think whenever there's been an issue, whenever there's been a recommendation, I've done it immediately. This is the first notice I've ever gotten of a certified erosion control specialist. And I request, I don't know any certified erosion control specialists. I wonder if Mr. Stinson might suggest a few names that he thinks.
BZA, who's out of Springfield, they have 1 or 2 people.
What is that name?
In Amherst has 1 or 2 people.
I didn't hear the one in Springfield.
GZA. They used to be Bay State, remember?
Actually, I do know GZA. Okay, I'll contact them
And
tomorrow.
then SWCA in Amherst, they have 1 or 2 people.
Who?
SWCA, the former New England Environmental. In Amherst, they have a couple people.
Okay, and just so the commission knows, on the island at the end of Redstone, that's prepped now. We're not going to plant grass. We're going to put down sod, so that will immediately stop anything going into from that basin. Even though the basin has been protected with erosion control, so I'm not sure that's been a real source of any sedimentation. But we are going to move forward with putting down sod, so that will immediately stop any erosion. And we're going to move forward with behind the houses on lots 19 and 20. We're going to seed that entire area, and we're going to put down erosion control fabric on that area.
Al,
Yes,
Did you say you were gonna put sod in the basin?
it's in the island on Redstone.
Oh, in the island. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Because the plans actually call for sod and then seeding. They call for a 5-foot wide strip of sod around the perimeter and then seeding it. And we just want to, we're going to just do the entire thing with sod. It's not a very big area.
Francis?
I'm hearing Al talk about his proposals, and I'm still wanting to hear from a specialist, because if he proceeds too much farther without consulting a specialist, he may be doing things he either doesn't need to do or that are counterintuitive. I'm just wanting to hear back from him about what his specialist advises.
I agree. Yeah, and we will be sure, and I'll see if I can even email you a copy of the enforcement order, Al. I probably have one on my computer. But it's just, you know, it's been going on, in my opinion, it's been going on pretty much constantly since this project has started. We've got, you know, lack of tracking pads and red clay everywhere in the street. The stormwater system is loaded up with red clay because it's going to take quite a while for it to all come out of there. And, you know, even the outflow on the retention basin, the trap in there had a substantial amount of red clay in it when we were there on Saturday.
It's not so much red clay, it's tiny microscopic colors that come from the iron that's in the water, the stone, and there's nothing going to get rid of the iron.
And any other comments?
I'll wait till we get the erosion control specialist. We'll see what they have to say. I'll contact them tomorrow.
And I will send you the email that Mark Stinson sent out with the different types of erosion controls beyond hay bales, straw bales, and a silt fence.
Thank
Tom?
I would just ask that that enforcement letter mentions the certified erosion control specialist, and that, you know, Al says he's going to hire one tomorrow, and I'll await the outcome of what that gentleman or woman has to say.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll just move forward then. And I wait to hear the response from the specialist. Okay, the next item on the agenda
Sorry.
was the ratification
Could
of.
we just thank Al for
Go ahead, Francis.
participating, and Ryan could take him off right now. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis.
You're welcome.
The next one was the other enforcement order that would be the fourth one for here. I didn't get up. And that applies to lot number 3, where there was still some erosion there causing the Red River behind the houses on Harwich. So I will get that written up and we can discuss that at our next meeting. Next item on our agenda is the request for amendment to the order for Hallen Terrace. I believe this is a public hearing, so Jeff, if you could read it into the record.
Okay, case OCC 2020-1, request for amendment to the order of conditions, Mass DEP file number 150-429. Request for amendment to order of conditions, Mass DEP file number 150-429 for 34 Hallen Terrace, assessor parcel ID 21-24-8, filed under the Wetlands Protection Act, DWW Policy 85-4, and Town of East Long Meadow Wetlands Bylaw for the approval of a smaller barn, increased parking, of fence and plantings. Applicant Peter Sayers and Michelle Sayers, 34 Howland Terrace, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028. Continued from the April 22nd, 2020 conservation meeting.
Thank you. I believe either Mr. Sayers or Heather Comey would be wanting to speak, so if you could connect them, Ryan. Hey.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
So we filed a request to amend the order of conditions. The applicants had realized that their actual plans had deviated from the, I don't know if, can you guys see the plan? Let's see.
We have a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. But
We
so
don't have
the
copies.
approved, okay, so the approved plan included a, basically the same exact project purpose. It included a proposed detached barn and a gravel driveway along the easterly side and along the back. What was actually constructed was a smaller barn, and the gravel driveway was installed, but also a asphalt driveway was constructed along the front. So they're proposing that, as well as a couple additional things that they wanted to do, including a fence around the entire the back of the property along the approved limit of work line, and some plantings along the road and the side, as well as gravel on the westerly side.
The first question I had is, I thought initially with this, as you're asking for an amended order of conditions, I thought you were, an amended notice of intent would have been filed.
No, procedurally, Craig, they have an order, so they're requesting to amend the order, right?
Okay.
So the limit of work line has remained the same. The permanent monuments are installed. The originally proposed building was larger. It was actually constructed smaller, and they're requesting to install a fence along from the front of the building along the back, and then back along the front, as well as plantings along the road and the property line.
Francis?
I have a question. Is the original intent of use of that building the same?
Yes.
And what is that exactly? Could you remind us? Sorry.
It's a detached barn, and I think he's using it for some batting practice for his daughter. I'm not sure exactly. He's got a workshop in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because when I was there during a site visit, there was some heavy construction equipment parked in the backyard of that, and it wasn't being used for the site. And I believe that that he does own a company. So he's not using this as a part of his company, is he?
If I may?
Yes, please.
Francis, the use of the building is really a planning board and zoning issue,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
not ours. But yeah, the equipment was there to be used during construction, but it was supposed to be removed once the construction
Okay.
was complete.
So I just wondered, the neighbors were out when we were there, and I wondered why he has to build a stockade fence around the building. And I'm just, if it's just a building being used for ball practice or whatever, in a residential area, why would he have to, put up so many barricades? I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to ask that, sorry. I may be out of order.
Regarding the fence, you can ask why he wants to do it, yeah.
Maybe just for privacy, I'm not sure.
Jeff?
Well, my concern is that this was proposed as a storage barn with a gravel driveway. And that was it. As it was built, regardless of the original footprint, it may be smaller, but my concern is that there was an awful lot of fill brought in to alter the grade, especially on the right side facing the barn. It was raised up to the level of the top of the silt fence, which I don't remember that grading being that extensive in the original plan. Plus, the question was specifically asked at that time at the original site visit. This is going to be a gravel driveway only because of the impervious pervious surface. And we were told yes. Subsequently, an asphalt driveway was added, which increases extremely the amount of impervious surface. And then there was a walkway that was added along the side of the building, and a deck and a staircase was added, which weren't on the original plans. Also, he put gravel down, or wants to put gravel down, over the right side area, where the grass, or towards the wetland side, beyond which would drain off to the wetland to the right side. And on one of the site visits we were out there, he had put down some kind of tarping or whatever. I forget exactly whether it was a cloth or whatever, that he said he was going to put the gravel on. And my concern is, we're really increasing the amount of runoff that's going off of this site into the wetland. And, none of this was in the original plan. And it was specifically asked if it was going to be gravel or driveway or asphalt. And it was supposed to be just gravel. And also the original plans didn't include anything about water, sewer, electric, any of that going to that building. I mean, this is a significant change compared to what I presented.
Can I answer a couple of those questions?
Sure.
So the grading is the same as what was approved. If you can look on your plans, it shows grade 210. It's right here. That was approved. That grade change was approved, and that's how it is.
I agree with that.
Okay. Okay.
There is the asphalt driveway is currently proposed now, and as well as additional gravel along the westerly side of the building. So that's why we're in front of you now to propose these changes.
Okay, Tom, and just Mark, just for your knowledge, the driveway exists now. The paved driveway has been installed and the walkway. But go ahead, Tom.
He definitely was pushing the boundaries of it as written. To me, I think he needs to mitigate that right side bank or that westerly bank. If it's not taken right now, I think that he needs to install sod or something that's going to mitigate any erosion, because it is a steep slope from that especially along the building there on the westerly side, proposed gravel driveway down to the limit of work there. So that seems to be the major issue for me. The driveway, a lot of the runoff's going to go onto Pease. Anything that goes off to the sides, westerly, probably, maybe a little bit easterly, should be mitigated because the grade's really, not inconsequential. It's not real conducive to heavy erosion. But he just needs to generally a little, get some seed taken, maybe sod.
Are you talking about along the gravel along this side, the westerly side?
Yes.
So along the westerly side right here, that's basically the site is gently sloping. It goes from 212 to 210. So there's a 2-foot change in grade over the developed portion of the site. I'm guessing that the part that you're talking about, the steep slope, would be along this 210 grade.
The south thing from the northern, probably closer to the northern point of the northwest corner of the building. It's a solid foot plus in grade change off that point.
Okay.
And it's over whatever the rise to the run is. It's probably 1 foot rise to 2 foot run or 3 foot run. So it's steep.
Okay.
So that needs to be
that can be
managed.
seeded along that edge, yeah.
At the very least.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, through the chair. If you look at that driveway, it's graded from Pease Road running down towards the building and then slopes off to the right, to the west side. That way, down and going off onto the westerly side of the building, and which is going to, well, we had seen some of it. It was causing the erosion to the point where the silt fence was collapsed, and we requested and it was replaced. There was actually a secondary silt fence placed behind the first one because of the way the water was running off of there. I would say there's going to be no runoff going onto Pease Road because it slopes towards the building rather than away from the building. And I don't know what the point of putting gravel on that side is, as opposed to seeding or sodding it to help the water get absorbed.
He wants to, but I think it's so that other team members on his daughter's softball team so there's parking if anybody else wants to. He's got batting cages for his daughter to practice, and
That's what is shown on the drawing. It says proposed gravel or washed stone driveway off of the paved driveway.
Yep.
Francis?
My question relates to the runoff also, the runoff. See, when we saw the plan with the grading as it is, that was with a gravel driveway. Now we have a paved driveway, which creates more water runoff with the same grade. And I'm worried about all that water going into the wetlands. That's what I see when I look at the grade going down that paved driveway, which is now paved, it's not gravel, is going to cause more runoff of water into the wetlands area. That, to me, we have to address. I think a grassy or a planted area would be a better solution along the edge of the wetlands than gravel. I'm not as concerned about him having a parking area as I am concerned about what's going to happen to the wetlands in the future. So that's, if someone else could take a look at that and see if you agree with me, I'd appreciate that.
Great. You have Peter in the audience too. I'm not sure if you'd like to bring him in.
Yeah, he can come in, yep. I guess my concern here is the fairly dramatic increase in impervious surface. 48 by 30 foot barn would be 1,440 square feet. The new 20 by 40 barn is 800 square feet. And then if we take and we look at the driveway at 16 feet wide, according to the plan, is 50 feet long. That would be an additional 800 square feet. And then we have the section of the driveway that actually goes to 24 feet wide. So, and what I did there was I estimated that, let's say, okay, it's an 8 foot by 12 foot area for that arc in the driveway. And so that is another 96 square feet. And then we have a sidewalk along the side of the building, which is 4 feet wide by 20 feet long, which is an additional 80 square feet. So now we are up to 1,776 square feet of 336 square feet, or 23% more than what was initially planned on. And what is not included in here, and it's questionable because, yeah, there's a deck here now. And so we're not even counting that as impervious surface. So I really have some issues with an additional 23% of impervious surface put in there that was installed completely against the initial order of conditions.
It's not going to increase the amount of water that's going to the wetland. The same amount of water is still going to the wetland because the grades haven't changed to take away water to it. It's just going to increase portion of the driveway, that impervious. Furthermore, stormwater design isn't applicable to single-family homes.
I understand that. But we just, that much more impervious surface does have an effect, as opposed to if it was all gravel. You know, you've got an additional 336 square feet, and that's a conservative number, in my opinion, that would be flowing through gravel that currently isn't, as it is proposed.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I am the owner of the barn, and I just know that around the front and the back and all that, it's basically for any of my daughter's friends or my sons to come over for a drop off, and that's why I wanted additional parking in there. Second of all, the black tarp that you guys saw that one day, that's not that's not a tarp. That was black Marafi fabric paper, which actually filters anything that comes, any kind of runoff. So when it hits that wash zone, I'm going to have about maybe 30 to 40 feet of wash zone. So any water that does come, or any runoff, any storm water will hit that. So we'll hit the fabric paper with the stone, and then it'll leach into the wetland gently with no silt or anything to carry into there. I did this whole development here at Hamlin Estates, and I've learned a ton through best managed practices that we did over the course of the last 15 years here. And I'll tell you right now, what I was trying to get that all in. I did not know that I was under the order of conditions that I couldn't, I wasn't allowed to do that. I had to go back to the board and ask. I just thought it was, since I got my work order of conditions, my work permit, my building permits, I thought I was all good to go, and that's what I was going to do. We got stopped. I haven't done a thing since last fall. The equipment that you see back there, I have a genie lift in there because I still want to trim a couple of trees up top on the easterly side, and I want to address some gutter work that I need to finish up. As soon as that's done, it's going to a job site. I am in construction. That's going to a job site. Well, you probably won't see it there again unless I have a tree fall down where I have to go up higher somewhere, cut some limbs again. That'll be it. But other than that, that's why that genie lift is there. So just that Craig, you were talking about as far as surface area goes. Yeah, you got the roof runoff. I have gutters installed with downspouts. I don't dare to put any kind of. I was going to do some a little ditch in the back in the work order area where I could dig a little dry well and do the gutter system would go into that dry well, and then that would leach right into the wetland very slow with no erosion control, no silt, no red clay, none of that stuff would go in there at all. So that was my game plan. But if you're concerned about the hard surfaces per se, but all the surface area around the building itself, that's all going to be all Marafi with fabric paper and all wash stone for the most part. That's what I plan on doing. So I don't know how you feel about that, Greg.
If I may, I just want to clarify, but you said you thought you were all set. You were coming to have to.
Well, I thought I didn't realize I had to go back and have a plan drawn up to put a fence in, to show a fence on the plan, bushes, to put a gravel driveway in. I didn't realize all that. The asphalt driveway, I don't know if there was a mix up between Paul Smith and I, my surveyor. When he originally drew the plan, there was two lines, black lines were going to the building. I thought that was the drive that got approved. I would say I was mistaken. And then around it did say in the old plan, gravel driveway, which is there. And I thought that was it, but when you guys came out, that wasn't it. So that's why I just stopped completely and had to go back to the drawing board. And here we are today, 5 months later. But I'm willing to do any guys, any suggestions you guys, do.
Mark, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, just procedurally, Heather, did you do a butter notification and legal notice?
Yep.
Two ways to do an amended order. One is, the applicant can come to the commission and request the commission to determine whether or not it needs a full hearing or it can be done within the scope of the minutes. So Heather, you're actually looking for an amended order, an amended file. Okay, so give you an amended order. So if you look at the 4 and 5, the order of conditions, there's a checkbox. And there's also a way that if you feel this is so minor, you can also approve the changes within the minutes instead of issuing a full-blown amended order that'll have to get recorded. Or you can say, no, we're not going to amend the order, and the only option then is to file a new notice of intent. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, here's your options. So Jeff, when you're bringing up all these issues, Francis, you know, he's got an order so he can do what you guys originally approved. But now that the project is opened up, you can ask for additional items if you want. And then Bethany will issue I'll work with her on the paperwork on an amended order of conditions. So there's various things. So there you go. I had no comments. It's buffer zone. I don't have a copy of the old plan, the new plan. Haven't been to the site, so I'm not going to opine on the appropriateness of your questions or not.
Well, then, and that's where about the amended order of conditions versus the filing of a separate NOI, because if we're increasing the impervious surface that much, the fee should actually be changed.
Well, the amended orders policy really only addresses if you have additional resource area impacts, then it should be a new notice of intent. But buffer zone, there's a lot more leeway on approving an amended order. So it's not something DEP is even going to get into, whether or not it's appropriate. So it's up to you guys.
Okay. At this time, I guess I'd like to check with Ryan. Is there any members of the public that wish to comment on this?
I don't see anyone with raised hands. If anybody in the public does want to comment, just raise your hand. I don't see any.
Okay. Hearing no members of the public that wish to comment on this, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now bringing it back to the board for further discussion. No comments from anyone?
I'm thinking.
My comment is just, go ahead.
I'm just questioning which would be better overall for the wetland, if, you know, doing the fabric and the gravel, or just putting sod in there. I'd like anybody else's comment on that.
Could I say it's kind of a wash?
Okay. I'll bite it. I'm just concerned about the runoff coming off that drive going into that area. And then I don't want to see it going further out like it was before, where it was washing over and collapsing the silt fence.
Why I did that is because that 30 or 40 feet of Marafi paper was removed and there was no wash stone there. I can guarantee you when you put the water, when that's installed, there won't be any runoff whatsoever. Guaranteed.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
I have a point of order. When we just moved and passed, what was that? That was to close the public meeting. What does that mean on Zoom?
Closing it so that there's no more comments from the public.
So we have 2 members of the public on the meeting with us right now.
They're the applicant.
So it's okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just a procedural thing, if I may. So you haven't, Bethany, does the existing order of conditions have?
So, yes.
Okay, so this order, this amended order would have to stand on its own. So if you want to use the same special conditions, you got to bring them in, whatever you used on the original one, put it in this one too, because this order, the other order goes away. So if you don't include those special conditions, they won't apply.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, there is special conditions. Yep. And I guess I'm pretty much all set, other than I definitely was not happy the way this happened. I really struggled to understand how we could have misinterpreted a gravel driveway and a paved driveway. But it's kind of all said and over with. So that being said, entertain a motion to approve the request to amend the order of conditions for 34 Halland Terrace.
Can you make a vote on closing the hearing?
We did that, didn't we?
No,
Not
No,
a
we didn't.
formal vote.
no. We didn't do a roll call vote on it.
We did not do a roll call vote.
That's right. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. On the motion to close the public hearing, Craig Jernstrom, yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Jeff Bosworth, yes.
Francis Cornati, yes.
Forget these roll call vote things. All right. So now, as previously stated, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request to amend the order of conditions for 34 Halland Terrace.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Francis Cornati, yes.
Jeff Bosworth, yes.
All righty. Thank you. Good luck, Peter. Heather, good seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda would be the notice of intent for 110 Summers Road. However, I believe we have to postpone this to our next meeting because as Frances is a resident there, she needs to recuse herself, and so we will not have a quorum. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to postpone the notice of intent for 110 Summers Road.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All those in, Craig Jernstrom, yes.
Francis Cornati, yes.
Tom
Jeff
O'Brien, yes.
Bosworth, yes. Jeff Bosworth, yes.
All right. All right, moving along. The next one is item number 3, the notice of intent for Porter Road Bridge. Jeff, if you could read that into the record, please.
Case number NOI 2020-3, notice of intent for Porter Road Bridge, EO 3004-5LL-MUN-BRI, road between parcel 15-40 and B-50 of existing roadway and structures within the 100-foot buffer zone, 200-foot riverfront area, and land subject to flooding, as well as temporary access to South Branch Mill River for in-culvert repairs. Applicant Bruce Fenney, Superintendent, East Long Meadow Department of Public Works, 60 Center Square, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028.
Thank you, Jeff. I need a bigger desk. I guess, Ryan, I'm not sure if it's Bruce is here or Tom and the environmental engineer.
Craig, if I may. This is regarding the bridge on Porter, correct?
Yes.
So I have been involved in the conversations before. You did recuse myself, and I spoke to an attorney, and for these reasons, I will recuse myself from this one. So I don't believe you have a quorum at that point.
Well,
Well, that was
would be-
quick.
that would be correct. Hi, Tom.
Hi. Hey, guys. Good evening.
Uh,
Hi, Francis. Hey, Mark. Nice to put a face to the name.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So I'm not sure how much we can even go over this, and I'm not even sure if we can have the information presented, or we definitely can't open it up and have a public hearing, and we definitely can't be deliberating on it. But I don't know.
They can do it, but they'd have to do the whole thing all over again next meeting.
Correct.
So it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Now, how many people are on the commission now?
We currently have 6.
Okay, so quorum is 4. 3 is, yeah. I'm not a lawyer, so whatever you were told to do, yeah.
Yeah, our quorum is 4. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Apologize, Tom.
No worries.
I'll entertain a motion to continue the notice of intent for Porter Road to our May 27th meeting.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Rick
Second.
Newstrom, yes?
Francis Cornati, yes.
Jeff Wadsworth, yes.
All righty.
Hmm.
All right, the next item on our agenda would be project monitoring. If you wanted to stick around, Mark, I think it would be great.
Sure.
As everybody knows, we have been doing a lot of site visits. Last Saturday, we actually did 10, one of which I did by myself down at Tanglewood. And I guess we'll want to talk about all 3 of those where we have 3 existing enforcement orders, Mark, that are out there. 108 Old Farm Road, Tanglewood, I forget the address, and then also on Elm Street. And there was some work done, Mark. No fines were issued, but people were cutting down trees and that sort of thing. And essentially, and we sent out saying that he's going with the plantings. And Bethany, have we heard back from any of them?
No.
Okay. And we sent
We're
these out at our.
Actually, 101 Old Farm Road. We have. You might be ready for a site next week.
I didn't hear that.
101 Old Farm Road would be ready for a site visit. He's doing the plantings this weekend, so he'll be ready for a site visit probably the end of next week.
Thank you.
Yes, there was an email sent out that he's having the plantings done this weekend, and anytime between the 20th and 22nd, he'd be ready for the commission to come by and inspect.
Nothing had been done, and a lot of that was not necessarily trees. It was more shrubbery type plantings that needed to be done along a river. Tanglewood, when I went out there, there was 3 trees that had been planted, and it's 13 that is shown in the enforcement order and in their restoration plan. So I guess at this point we need to send them another letter urging them to do the plantings. But what would your recommended course of action be on this, Mark, since you're here?
Well, the plantings are required under enforcement or under an order or something?
Enforcement orders.
Okay. And did the enforcement order specify the dates when the plantings had to be done by?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Okay. Can you require it? I mean, you can suggest, but because you didn't put in a date, you can't require it. Dates, whenever you require anything either under
The meeting's
enforcement.
still going on, and the reason I can't answer my phone is because I'm on the phone to be in the meeting, that's all. That's why I couldn't pick up before.
Jeff, can you mute there? Okay.
So always require dates.
So then what if they never plant them?
Well, then if your enforcement order didn't require a date, then they could do it in 10 years and still be in compliance, right?
Wow. Okay. I guess we'll have to check them, but so we can urge them to do the plantings then.
I mean, you may have to amend the enforcement. Then the appeal period is extended from the new enforcement order. So there's a 2-month window where somebody can appeal an enforcement order to Superior Court. So you always want to try to get the enforcement order well-written right up front. Because if you make a mistake and they want to appeal, they now have another chance if you issue a new one.
Okay.
Mark, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If we issue a fine, what is the appeal authority if they want to dispute that?
I cannot answer because I don't know the answer, and it's also under your bylaw. I can only answer Wetlands Protection Act questions.
Okay.
If I may, according to the one here for Tanglewood, it's in the restoration plan that we approved. Proposed plantings and seed mixes shall be installed.
Last year.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of late to be doing any plantings now. I mean, in terms of compliance with the requirement to have it done last year. So I think that's a topic of discussion, how you want to handle it. You know, in terms of potential or whatever you want to do under your bylaw.
Thank you.
It's never a good idea to let things drag out a long time. This makes it hard.
Well, then I guess for now then we need to check. I mean, this is in here, and so this is what we approved. So they the restoration plan that we approved. So I would think we can be a little bit more a second letter that we say to them, and we can Englewood. I do not have the file for Elm Street here. I don't have copies of that one here at my house. So we'll have to check that one. But I think we should set a letter. But
Just said, don't we have to first issue a new order of conditions extending the date? And then we can send them a thing.
After you have an enforcement order that was issued, it was not appealed, it's still valid, you can still try to enforce it. You don't have to.
So
then we can, oh, I'm sorry. So we
go
can
ahead.
send the letter saying we urge them to complete this as time passes.
It would apply to Tanglewood because there are date specifics, you know, that are in the approved restoration plan. What we need to do is check the file, but we still could send them a reminder letter as a courtesy type thing. Yes.
So Craig, couple things. The chapter in the season, I think he was going to plant in the spring. I mean, it's still springtime now. as far as the guy in Tanglewood, you guys went out there, the things.
Yeah, it's right here.
Did you physically count them?
No, it's right here. 5, 3, 11, 12, 13, 15.
Okay. 3 verifiable.
Yeah, I was there Saturday. That's all there is.
Yeah, I think he planted some in beyond the where. I believe when she presented that, she mentioned that.
You can kind of see it. Yeah, they're supposed to be on both sides of the fence that got installed.
Right.
Unless I'm really missing something, there's only 3 that have been.
Sounds like a letter.
Yep. Yeah, you already got one, and we haven't had a response. But I'll work with Bethany on drafting the one for Tanglewood, and we need to check the file and then decide amend the enforcement order. But in the meantime, we could just send them a second reminder letter anyway. But after checking the enforcement order, if we need to, we still meet. Other than that, 39 Pondview Drive was another one we did the site visit on that a lot of were sent out on. And this is one, Mark, where we approved an in-the-ground pool. So they did a request for determination. And we there that was supposed to be maintained that the pool was on the other side of. And we went out and inspected the erosion controls and that sort of thing last year. And upon going out to visit the adjacent lot a couple weeks ago, there's been a very extensive concrete patio put around this entire pool. And again, this is not part of the RDA. And it is all within the 100-foot buffer zone.
All right, how far was the area where the pavers were put? Was that lawn before?
I'm going to say yes.
There's a minor exempt activity. Everybody should learn these.
Well,
10.022B that says conversion of lawn to use as accessory to a single-family house. For example, decks, shed, patios, or pools over 50 feet away from the wetlands or the bank of the stream is actually an exempt activity.
But what I was concerned about the fact that, yeah, it's not a patio pavers or anything. It's a solid concrete patio.
The regulations do not define what is by pool. There's no definition to it.
Okay.
So, you know, a 2x2 patio is potentially the same exemption as a 50 by 10 patio if it's conversion of lawn over 50 feet away. So you got to be careful on those. Don't issue an enforcement order for something that's an exempt activity.
Well, was supposed to be a 16 by 32 or 16 by 30, if I remember correctly, in-ground pool directly behind the house. This patio area has been extended, I want to say, a good 20 to 25 feet, and there's a wetland on that side of the house, and it, and it drops straight down to the wetland from there.
One portion of this is substantially inside the 50-foot area.
Okay.
but we'll have to check the file on that. So places that we went was Avery Street, that a lady called up and asked about taking some trees down that are actually right on the limit of work line. They are over the house and pretty unhealthy. So we instructed her to file a request for determination. Another one was 12 Chatham Road or Street. I'm not 100% sure. That was another complaint that came in regarding people riding motorcycles out there, or dirt bikes. And we went out there, and that was one side the limit of work line that are in some pre-existing walking trails. That would be, there was a lot of trails back there. This is off of Kibbe Road heading back towards Hoover's Quarry. But there's definitely some dirt bike tracks, you know, right next to, tore up a little bit of skunk cabbage. And then also the riding is continuing onto town-owned conservation property. And there's not a tremendous amount of damage done. There's very little. So we need at least to send these people a letter saying that you can only be riding your dirt bikes on your property inside the limit of work line, and they need to stay off of the town-owned conservation land. Francis?
Yes. It's not on the agenda.
Nope, just doing it under project monitoring. It was 12 Chatham Road or Chatham Street?
Chatham Circle.
Chatham Circle, sorry.
Circle. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, and yeah, that was a neighbor that called up regarding that one. The other one, 101 Old Farm Road. He has the sign up. It's kind of in pretty bad shape. It could be done, the DEP file number sign, but we also need to send him a letter because the existing erosion control silt fence is not in good shape. And this is the one we just did extend the, we gave an extension on the order of conditions for this property at our last meeting.
Correction, that's 108 Old Farm.
108, sorry, oh yeah, okay. 101's the tree one. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was about all I had right now for project monitoring. Tom or Jeff or Francis, anybody else?
I have one more question. If I were to go to the project monitoring spreadsheet, all of what you just said is on there, because I haven't been able to go on the site visits. So how do I find out what was done?
I'm going to say no, this is not all on there yet, but go ahead, Bethany.
It will be? Okay.
Francis, I would look at the minutes because that would reflect what's gone over in the project monitoring.
Okay, so once these minutes are done, then I'll have that information. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one quick question for Francis. Do you want us to contact you to go on these site visits, Francis, or you prefer to stay quarantined?
No, I don't mind going outside, especially now that the weather is better. I think before I wasn't going because number one, COVID, number two, the weather was pretty bad. So yes, please contact me and I may be able to go on some of them.
Okay, well, trust me.
I also talked to the director of the health department today, and we should be getting some masks for you all. So when you conduct your site visits, you will be able to wear a mask.
Yeah, I have my own mask, so I'm okay for now. Thank you.
I would say I have several, so I'm all set too.
I'll gladly take one.
I really didn't have anything new under policies and procedures other than if Bethany, maybe you wanted to give us an update on things at the town hall.
They're pretty much the same. We're slowly starting to discuss how to reopen, but it doesn't look like things will be going back to normal for quite a while. So I'd expect Zoom meetings to go on for at least another month and a half.
Thank you.
I just have one question. Have you guys voted on doing electronic signatures, authorizing Bethany to do your signatures?
No.
Question is, how are you going to get the signatures for this amended order of conditions?
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about it?
Yeah, that would be my bad. I didn't realize that was something we had to vote on. I thought it was just all set. We're doing the electronic signatures now. I did see
Right.
that email.
Yeah, you have to the commission has to authorize it in a vote. And technically, if you're going to be recording if they're going to be recording an order of conditions using electronic signatures, then the vote authorization has to be recorded at the registry as well. This is something you should discuss with the town attorney.
Okay.
If that's not going to happen for a while, you need to discuss how Bethany will get your actual signatures for the order so it can be recorded at the registry. You guys should be talking about it.
Good point.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Bethany, does the town have any kind of setup for electronic signatures?
As in software or procedure wise?
I mean, have you ever done it before? Does it
No.
exist? Because I sign documents in my, for my private things online electronically, and I wondered if you have that possibility.
I'm sure it's possible. I haven't done it yet though.
Okay, so you'll have to let us know before we can vote on it, right?
I would think so.
I-
Mark, can they vote on it? It's just
They-
not written down yet.
well, did you vote to authorize one of you for electronic signatures for the others?
Oh, okay. We didn't.
Can I make a motion, Greg?
Certainly.
I make a motion to approve electronic signatures for the Conservation Commission based on our votes on any particular matter. Is that worded correctly, Mark?
I'd have to check online to see if that was adequate. I mean, it sounds fine, but I hope it's fine. Let me put it that way.
So that's
Is there
my
a
motion.
second? Is there a second?
Who are you
Second.
authorizing to sign?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Bethany or Craig? Bethany does the paperwork, so,
Bethany.
okay.
Okay. But I was gonna suggest Craig because then he would know, I mean, as the chair of the commission, but it's okay.
But he's
You know
not
what,
going
that's
into
a-
town
that's
hall
an
to do the paperwork, though.
That's right. We don't know if we don't really have an electronic signature
Mm-hmm.
software, so, okay.
And I'll talk with you tomorrow, or I'll get some more information for you, Bethany, okay?
Thank you.
The motion was made. I don't believe it had been seconded yet.
I'll second
Good.
it. Given the conditions.
Is there any further discussion?
One more point, perhaps Bethany could just notify Craig that she's, signed it and sent it out. I guess you get a copy anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's,
And we voted on it to approve
Yeah.
it, yeah.
okay.
Craig Jernstrom, yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Moriarty, yes.
Jeff Bosworth, yes.
Okay, well, and since you're still here, Mark, the last one that we had, and we've had some discussions about it, and there is some spirited, healthy debate regarding levying fines, and it has not been a practice in East Long Meadow in my time on the commission. I can't say about prior to 10 years ago. But if you could comment on it, and, do a lot of other towns around here levy fines and that sort of thing, or?
I know I'm not sure how successful Palmer has done it. What I do is I would call Angela, who's the Conservation Commission agent in Palmer. She's pretty knowledgeable. I'm pretty sure she's done it. How successful, again, I don't know. Those things never come to me because it's a bylaw question. It's not a Wetlands Protection Act question. So if you want to call Angela, her phone number's on the Palmer website. Do you know?
Angela Pancioni? Angela Pancioni from Brimfield?
Yeah. But most towns don't have bylaws, and if they have a bylaw, I'm not aware of most of them having the ability to issue fines. And again, I have no idea how successful they are. One of the things that Westfield has been doing, though, for years, under their ordinance, is require projects to post a bond. So that helps you get compliance for those sites where you've issued orders or determinations. Won't necessarily help you with strictly enforcement cases. So that's something to think about, is updating your bylaw to have people post a bond. That works a lot for Westfield.
Mhm.
They even do it for municipal projects. Again, it's not a Wetlands Protection Act question.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm just throwing the
That'd be
information out
something we
there.
could check with our town council on also. The lawyer, I mean. Yep. All righty.
How's it coming with hiring a shared Conservation Commission agent?
We are making no progress with that right now.
Okay.
We've got, I mean, there was something going on where we were working with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission,
Right.
to try and put something together, but that has kind of fallen by the wayside. But the way things are in the budget, and I watched the town council meeting last night, where we're drastically short on revenue in the last couple months, and prior to that, we were over budget. And right now, the town manager has limited some hirings and that sort of thing. I know it's right now, I don't believe it's on the immediate agenda to replace the previous planning director. It will be happening in the future, but that position is not even advertised at this point.
I know state aid for cities and towns is going down.
Yeah. At the town council meeting last night, they actually said, starting in the middle of March up till right now, the town's revenue was down $673,000.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. And
Thanks,
I
Mark.
apologize, Mark, for not having the hearing about the Porter Road River project.
Yeah, I had a very nice chat with the consultant today. He and I talked about my comments, so he's all set to work with you guys. You know, he knows what I was looking for, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Does anybody else on the commission have anything?
No,
Nothing.
All right.
no.
Just wanted to say it was nice to meet Mark Stinson. I've only seen his name, and thank you very much for helping.
Nice to meet you too, Francis. Good to see everybody.
It hasn't been
Thank
a
you,
year
Mark.
yet, so I'm trying.
All right. I'll
Thanks,
see you
Mark.
guys later.
Take care, Mark.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
I'll
Thank you,
entertain a motion
Bethany.
to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Francis?
No, I was just going to thank Bethany for hanging in there and doing everything for us, really.
That's a very good idea. Thank you.
I concur.
Yep. All right. On the motion to adjourn, Craig Jernstrom. Yes.
Tom O'Brien, yes.
Cornett, yes.
And Jeff Bosworth, yes.
All righty. Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, Ryan.
You got it. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys. Good night.
everybody.